Okay, so today I'm going to teach you how I went from, I'm not going to teach you, I'm just going to tell you how I went from earning $24,000 to earning $124,000 within 2 years. The reason that I feel like this is worth sharing is just because I feel like people don't talk about this enough. I feel like it's something that is useful to know how people, accomplish the goals that they accomplish and to share the insights that they have, which I'll be doing, and for you to take it and run with it and take what's useful and apply it to your own life. So let's get started. 2 years ago, I was just coming out of my early 20s narrative of being a rock star. I realized that I probably wasn't going to become a rock star. I wasn't making very much money, and I was working at a cafe called The Ugly Mug, hosting an open mic and serving people large no-foam lattes. And just some other emotional context. The whole time I was about to turn 27, and the whole time I was thinking, shit, like I need to grow the fuck up. Like I need to be able to buy my mom a dress. I need to be able to help my parents when they get older or take myself where I want to go. And I knew that I couldn't do that at a cafe. So anyways, some friends asked me, yo, Tim, do you want to come with us to Seattle? It's going to be dope. Or really, it was Portland. And I was like, sure. So I get in this car ride. I'm hanging out with all of them. We're riding up to Portland. I see some people. I try Whippets for the first time and only time, which is like sucking the whipped cream air and getting high. It was stupid. Anyways, I tried that. Instead of going back with my friends, I thought, you know what? I want to go see Seattle. I want to go see what it's like. And I had a friend in Seattle that was willing to let me stay with them for 5 days. So I went to Seattle. I hung out with her for a little while, and then I decided, I'm not going home. This is the time. I have a backpack full of stuff. I've got $1,100 in my checking account right now. I'm going to get into an apartment, and I'm going to make it work. So help me God. I immediately got into an apartment. I had roughly $200 to my name and no job. And I decided to Airbnb my apartment initially and stay at a hostel so I could get the residual income from the nightly difference in price. So I'd Airbnb for like $130 and spend $30 on the hostel. So I'd just make residually $30 or $100, but I'd have to stay in a hostel. But it was fun because I was meeting new people. Anyways, I get to Seattle. I get in touch with recruiting firms because I kind of find out that there's some people that can get you a job. The recruiting firm gets me my first job at a company called Cray. It was a supercomputing company, and I meet a good friend of mine. His name is Scott, and he's my boss, and I start to try and work as a developer. The whole time I'm working, I'm a shitty fucking developer. I'm learning, but I'm shitty. But I was making $30 an hour, so I was like, holy shit. It was only a 3-month contract, though. So while I was there, I decided that I would look into what recruiting was. I knew that recruiting was helping getting people jobs, which I kind of am an empathetic person. I can't help it, and I would love to help people if I can. So I looked into recruiting, and I landed my first job by pursuing actively this recruiting firm saying, hey, I'm interested in recruiting. I want to know what it's like. I want to know what you guys do. Interviewed me a couple of times, and I became a recruiter. And I had my first job, and it was my first salary job. They were paying me $45,000, leveling up. I was starting to feel kind of like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going to my corporate job. It's at 9 a.m. I know that I should be really living on my own, taking Instagram pictures and being a millennial, but I'm glad to be at this corporate job. I worked at that job for roughly a little under a year before another job popped up that would pay me $37 an hour. And it was just a contract job, but my irrational thinking was, you know what? I'm going to take $37 an hour just because, gosh, when you multiply that times 2,080, that's $74,000. And initially at the barista job, I was making $12 an hour, which is roughly $24,000. Fast forward, I'm working at this contract job. I'm not liking my life. I'm like, this recruiting thing is not really working out. It's been a year and a half, and it's kind of lame, and it's boring, and I was starting to get restless, and I was ready to leave. I got a LinkedIn message from Warner Media saying, hey, we're looking for a contract recruiter. Are you interested? I was like, well, maybe they'll pay me more. I guess I'll just ask and see. Maybe it's just the job I'm at right now. So I got on a phone call with them, and I did something that I never, ever did before. When they asked me how much I wanted to make, I thought of a number that I thought they'd say no to because I was ready to leave anyways. And I was like, I'd like to make $60 an hour. And they didn't even hesitate. They're like, that's fine. $60 an hour, we can do that. I immediately shut my mouth. I was like, oh my God. I just asked for $60 an hour off the cuff because fuck it. And they said yes. So now I was all nervous. And they did my background check, and I was really nervous about that. And then I got the job. And it was only a 3-month contract. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be making $60 an hour for 3 months. What the hell is that going to be like? They kept extending my contract every 3 months. They'd extend me. So I've officially made, at least in 1 year, $124,000. I want to share some insights that I've gotten from this whole process that are useful to you and would have been useful to me 2 years ago if I would have heard them. Insight number one is you never know what a company is willing to pay you. So you should always risk asking for a number that makes you slightly uncomfortable. And by the way, it's illegal for them to ask what your former salary was now, at least in Seattle. Look up your state. But insight number two is that you should understand that any path that you take, whether it's woodworking or electrician work, or you want to be a diver or fisherman or, whatever, any path that you take can be fruitful in different ways. People that are trying to tell you a secret formula are really just asking you to jump into their belief system, and that's never going to hold up in the long term. So you got to form your own, and you got to figure it out on your own. That's the hard thing about life. But anything that you go into, you're going to develop competence and expertise just being surrounded by that. And that happened with me in recruiting. And it would have happened with me in software development if I would have stuck with it longer. But, I like talking to people, and I wanted to find a career that could do that. Insight number three is that, of course, luck is going to be involved. So wherever you're at right now, there's a certain amount of luck that you've had, and there's a certain amount of good fortune that hasn't come your way yet. You look around at all these people, and you see them at Facebook, or you see them at Google, or you see them in these jobs, and you think, oh, they must be so uniquely talented to be in the job that they're at. Oh, God. But the truth is that a lot of them just got lucky. A lot of them just had interviewers that were feeling good that day, or they knew somebody, which is a great way to get a job, by the way, obviously. But where you're at is not necessarily a reflection of your intelligence, and it's not necessarily a reflection of your potential. It's a lot of a reflection of the random situations that coalesced into you working where you work now, and probably wanting to see this video and figure out how to improve your life or whatever. The other thing is that there's a lot to learn from working in a corporate environment. There's this narrative right now, especially among millennials, that you shouldn't work in a corporate environment or else you're selling out. And there's so much to learn from a corporate environment. You start to learn that it's a game, but it's a game that you have to learn the rules to be good at and play correctly. There's a way to talk to executives. There's a way to be in meetings. There's a way to schedule your calendar, your workflow. There's all these skills that you can learn that will just make you a better person outside of your job if you're willing to go into that environment. And yes, it is like a hierarchical corporate environment that is trying to squash your individuality and insert philosophical argument to the contrary of working in a corporation. But there's still a lot of hidden gems in learning how to do this work. So don't believe all the hype about working a corporate job is this soulless thing. It's not. Another insight is that if you're making a certain amount and you're kind of just eking by, maybe you have a couple $1,000s in your account or whatever, and you have a sense that having $50,000 would make you really happy, or that would ease your suffering. A lot of people are going to tell you that that's not the case, that money isn't everything. But I will tell you right now that earning the amount of money that I've earned compared to where I was, it's given me a sense of autonomy and safety and security. It's just psychologically knowing that if something happened or if somebody needs something, I could provide it. It makes me feel better about myself. So pursuing money for the right reasons is a great idea. Pursuing security for yourself or your family or the people that you love, or the ability to provide or even protect if necessary with your resources, is a fucking great goal. Another insight is that recruiting was a plan B for me. Plan A was to be a developer and was to, kind of figure out how I was going to earn all of the money that developers earn. Plan B was recruiting. It was just a plan that came out of nowhere. And we have these ideas about what our life should look like, and then life inevitably will happen, and it will change our plans, and we'll say, fuck, what the fuck am I going to do now? Well, what you could do now is something new. It's something that your brain didn't plan on. There's so many narratives that you can live out in your life. There's no limit to what you can just attempt to do and where that will take you and what luck will bring you. But you are not stuck where you are. And anybody that tells you you are is wrong or pessimistic or nihilistic or something like that. The biggest insight for me, though, above all of this, and this is my last insight, is don't take your life or your work so seriously. I know that there's something to be said for, you got to take your present moment seriously, because it's going to end up being the future at some point, and whatever you do today is going to expand, and you're going to be the result of that. But listen, if you want to show up fully today, and get jobs and do well in interviews and be there for your family, it's going to be in your best interest to have a light heart and to be able to have fun and to enjoy in the present moment. And the way that you do that is by valuing those things above the expectations that you need to be a certain way. You should go to your job and understand that it's, potentially serious what you're doing, but you shouldn't take your job seriously. I know that sounds weird, but I think Christopher Hitchens said, you should be able to laugh at serious things and be serious about laughable things. And that's so true. It's helped me so much. Like when I go to work and I'm like, oh, am I doing good enough? Blah, blah, blah. Everything suffers. But when I go to work and I remind myself, there's so many things I could do. I don't have to be here. This is just something I'm choosing to do. It becomes me now. It's my fucking narrative. No one's telling me I have to be there. And that's super empowering. It's such a fundamental part of becoming your own person. Those are my big insights. That's how I went from making $24,000 to $124,000. And by the way, I could extend my contract on August 31st when it's supposed to end, which would be my first year. But I'm not going to. I'm going to say goodbye to a six-figure job and go travel the world because that's what I want to do. And I don't need anybody's permissions and I don't need anybody's consent that that's what I get to do with my life. And if I come back and I've spent, 12 grand or whatever, I'll make it up. I'll figure it out. You can do these things. So hopefully this little, mini story of how I got to where I am now was helpful to you. Hopefully you take some insights out of it. Please comment in the comment section below. And great spending some time with you. High five.